Good morning, and welcome to another episode of A Conversation with Father Orsi. I'm BC Cloutier, Chairman of Action for Life, and this is Father Michael Orsi. Hello, Father.
Hello, my friend. How are you?
I'm doing great. You know, they changed my title from President to Chairman.
Well, I hope you're not going to mimic Chairman Mao.
It's gotten me, you know, at our age, I suppose I can say, changing anything like that, it takes a little while to get accustomed to it.
Well, I see this as a great leap forward. Maybe you want to say why? How come you change your title?
Well, because we hired a new chief executive officer by the name of Royce Hood. Royce has been in the job a couple of months now. Doing a great job. He's an Ave Maria Law graduate. He was a student of yours.
I taught him. And he hasn't been disbarred yet.
He's a terrific guy, and he's just moving things forward. We're thrilled to have him.
Right. You know, I always knew that Royce was special. Folks, full disclosure, I call him Robin Hood. I also had his wife in law school, and I performed their marriage, I guess, about 10 years ago, and 7 children later. So he talks the talk and he walks the walk. Very, very talented young man. And I know he's going to bring us into an even brighter future.
Amen. Yeah. Father, I wanted to talk about morality today. And here's the headline. Almost half in the United States see morality as poor. Let me give you some facts and figures. This is from a Gallup poll that was conducted in July. 90%, there were 1,000 adults surveyed, 90% approve of birth control and 82% of IVF. 69% approve of sex between unmarried men and women. And 68% approve of having a baby outside of marriage, while 86% disapprove of extramarital affairs. There's some good news there. 54% said abortion is morally acceptable. 64% viewed gay or lesbian relations as morally acceptable. However, a majority of Americans said pornography, 58% in that case, changing one's gender, 51%, and sex between teenagers, 50%, were all morally wrong on those percentages. 55% support the death penalty, 53% approve of doctor-assisted suicide. And 71%, however, disapprove of self-induced suicide. So here's the net. Gallup says that when we talk about the state of the nation's morality, 15% describe it as excellent or good, 49% describe it as poor, and 34% call it only fair.
Yeah.
Those numbers are probably pretty realistic, but some of it is troubling.
Yeah, I want to take one thing out of there. I think the death penalty should be put aside from that list because there's debate about whether or not it should be used. However, it pales in comparison when you talk about abortion. Abortion is taking an innocent life, and the death penalty is taking a guilty life. So there is a difference, and people can have that discussion. Now, what is happening with morality in America? I suppose what is happening is that the culture has changed a great deal, and morality. It's downhill of culture.
Well, the morality ties in with religion, and we know that people are less and less religious, right? So
right.
It stands to reason that they would be more immoral if they are less religious.
Yeah, but I think, too, that you always have people who maybe they didn't go to church, but they had a sense, we call it a moral sense, of what was right and what was wrong. And we have a very, very, I have to use this word, folks, a very secularized left-wing media We also have an educational system that has been radicalized. And for a number of years, professors in universities have been promoting this kind of, I say, laissez-faire morality, almost libertarian, whatever you want to do, as long as it doesn't hurt somebody else. And you also have the politicians who are promoting this kind of morality. I was stunned. I was watching the Democrat convention and looking at their platform. At one time, God was in the platform. And now it seems that God has been replaced by abortion as the standard for saying as to whether or not who should be elected, who shouldn't be elected, and how laws should be shaped. Once again, law is downstream of culture. So the culture has changed. And unfortunately, most people, not you folks, but most people are influenced by the culture, and that determines what is right and what is wrong. That's where we get the term politically correct. And it's do your own thing, whatever feels good, as long as you don't hurt anybody else. And you'll hear this one quite often, don't impose your religion on me. Don't impose your religion on me. And that's another mistake that people make. Yeah, religion is extremely important. I believe so, that especially in a country like ours, that we're founded on basically religious principles. Yeah. They're not stated, this comes out of the Bible, but the principles are formed in Judeo-Christian culture. Mm-hmm. When we remove the Bible, is that the only source of morality? And the answer is no. There is another source of morality, and that is the natural law. And for Catholics, we have always referred to the natural law, and we would say that the natural law is raised even to a higher level by the supernatural law. But if you have any experience reading some of the ancient philosophers, especially Aristotle, he was not a believer in the sense that we understand believer, mm-hmm. but Aristotle said that you can follow the natural law, the way a thing is made, the way it should act. The way a thing is made is the way the thing should act. And you can have what we call ethics. Ethics are not exactly morality. Morality, I would say, is more influenced by religion. But Aristotle, the Nicomachean ethics, you could pick up Aristotle's Nicomachean ethics and take a look at what he says there, and you'd almost say to yourself, wow, this is everything that I've ever learned in the Bible. It's all there. So I think our people are being hoodwinked. They are being bombarded with bad information, and they've fallen into a culture which says, I can do whatever I want, and as long as it doesn't hurt anybody else, I'm fine.
Well, and that seemed to start with the 60s, the sexual revolution, the Warren Court, making all kinds of liberal judgments, and it has just progressed from there. On the ballot on Tuesday, among other things, is the legalization of marijuana.
Right.
Now, we already have medical marijuana legalized in the state of Florida, and the truth is, you can make all kinds of arguments for and against marijuana, and that's fine. We just don't need another substance that affects our kids negatively. And people will say, oh, but you can't. Well, that's true of alcohol, too. But there are a lot of 13 and 14-year-olds getting drunk on the weekend.
Sure. Yeah. But now, let me say this, BC. On Amendment 3, we're talking about recreational marijuana. Now, there are even some that doubt the efficacy of medicinal marijuana, but if someone is in need of that and they think that it works, well, I suppose it's up to them and their doctor. Recreational marijuana is a little bit, well, not just a little bit, it's a lot different. It's opening the gates for young people to begin smoking marijuana. This is not a very benign drug. It's a very dangerous drug. And people don't realize that. And they'll say, well, what's the big deal? A little marijuana is not going to hurt you. You get a high.
That might have been true in the 60s and 70s. But since then, the THC content of marijuana has gone through the roof.
That's right. That means a very strong form of marijuana. Studies have come out now. There's a very interesting study came out, I suppose, a number of months ago in the Wall Street Journal. A woman, doctor, had been studying it for years, and her findings are that it causes changes in the brain circuitry on young people.
Whose brains aren't developed yet.
That's right. That's right. And more than that, it can produce psychotic episodes. So we're not talking about a harmless drug here. It's a very harmless drug. And when you hear people or advertising...
Harmful drug.
I beg your pardon?
It's a very harmful drug.
Yeah. Did I say what?
You said harmless.
I'm sorry, folks. It is a very harmful drug. It is not harmless, okay? When you begin to allow for recreational marijuana, you are endangering young people, and it is also known to be a gateway drug. What do we mean by that? It means that a lot of people begin with marijuana and then graduate to higher drugs. And I mean, heroin. And these days, heroin is mixed with
fentanyl.
Yeah, fentanyl, over 100,000 killed in our country. And now there's another drug mixed in with the fentanyl called, well, I can't remember the name, lisinothine, something like that. And this is called tranq. And this drug is so lethal, it's powerful, it begins the rotting of the flesh on the body. Ugh. And people are taking this tranq. So don't think that, marijuana is a harmless drug. I'm involved with St. Matthew's House.
Yeah.
Many, I'd say 95% of our clients that come in who have drug addiction say they began with marijuana. Now, who's behind all this? You have to ask yourself, who is behind all this? Who would want to promote this? Well, it's marijuana growers of America. It's big money.
Well, and it's the politicians who want the tax money.
Exactly. Or have shares in big pharma that is producing the marijuana. So, this is a dirty business. Anybody that tells you that it's a harmless drug, anybody that tells you that, Amendment 3 is fine, there's no problem with it, you tell them they are full of bull-oni. How's that?
Well, I couldn't agree with you more. I would also say that thankfully my kids are grown and they're past the teen stage, but what I would advise everyone is do not ingest anything that doesn't come from a pharmacy, because you don't know what it's laced with. And a lot of these 100,000 people that are dying had no intention of dying. They thought they were just going to have a good time.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah. I mean, it's a terrible epidemic in our country right now. And it's brought in, drug cartels coming into the country, bringing in the fentanyl and killing our people.
Well, and that is now let's move on to the border. But that's really an argument for the border, is not only are all these undocumented people coming into our country, a lot of them bad actors, and that's been proven again and again, but the really bad actors are bringing lethal substances across the border, and they're killing our people.
Yeah. Now, it's coming in from China. The Chinese know if a mosquito is coming into or leaving China. And so it's I think it's just a way of attacking the United States, another way of attacking the United States, get our young people out of the way. The fentanyl is the greatest cause of death of our American citizens under the age of 45. Under the age of 45. And sometimes I've been in situations where somebody young, I consider 40, 45, young. Everything's relative, folks. And a family member will say to me, I didn't know he had a heart condition. Well, fact of the matter is, it wasn't a heart condition. It was the fentanyl that attacked the heart. So this is a very, very dangerous drug. As you said, really, unless you get it from a pharmacy, all drugs have the potential of doing tremendous harm. But behind the marijuana lobby, a lot of politicians, a lot of marijuana growers, people can actually buy, I guess they would call it certificates from the state to buy a certain amount of acreage to plant marijuana.
We've beat this horse enough, but it's just a bad suggestion that we legalize marijuana. I mean, walk down the street in Manhattan these days. There's just one giant cloud of marijuana smoke. And I'm talking about in the business district. And of course, we won't talk about San Francisco and Portland and Seattle and some other crazy places. So
Denver, Colorado. I was out there when it was first permitted to sell recreational marijuana. And I couldn't believe walking down the street. You would get high just walking down the street. And there were people sleeping all over the streets. The crime rate went up and the accident rate went up. And then it spread to the other cities. New York City legalized it just last year. And they have marijuana shops, except not only do they have legal marijuana shops that have to pay their taxes to the state and get their certificates from the state, but there's illegal marijuana now too. Now, if you're a police officer, what do you do? How do you know who's legal, who's not legal? I don't know.
Well, and New York just did a lousy job of launching that whole thing with licensing, et cetera.
Right.
So you just have the street dealers are doing more business than the retailers are.
Yeah.
Of course, they don't have the tax burden. So Amendment 3, folks, vote no, please.
Yeah, nada.
We'll be back. But for the moment, I'd like to talk to you about the expense of airing this program. Many people don't realize how expensive it is to produce this program and to get it on the air. Would you care to guess? It's about $3,000 per week. We think that's a reasonable expenditure, but obviously it's an expensive one. So we need to ask for your help. If you'll go to actionforlife.org and click on the donate button, it would be greatly appreciated. Now, you can donate once or you can donate each month, and we certainly have viewers who do both. We appreciate that. Please take time now to visit actionforlife.org and click on the donate button. Thank you so much for your support, and may God bless you always.
Hey gang, I know a lot of you sometimes can't watch all of our episodes of Action for Life. However, we have a solution for that. All you have to do is go to YouTube and search for Action for Life Florida. And you can catch up on all the shows, and guess what? Extra added bonus, you get to hear my weekly homily. So, YouTube and you make a fine couple.
Welcome back to a conversation with Father Orsi. I'm BC Cloutier. Father, we're talking about morality today, or perhaps I should say the lack of morality in America based on a Gallup poll that was conducted back in July. Some of the statistics I cited at the top of the show, I guess, aren't that surprising, but there are others that are. Euthanasia. Mm-hmm. If you look to the north, to Canada, they're killing all kinds of people for, what I would consider flimsy reasons. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And yet, I forget what the percentage is, but a significant percentage of people say that euthanasia is okay. And I think it's on the ballot in
10 states.
10 states.
10 states. It's on the ballot.
And we've got it, and it's legal in Vermont and Oregon already. So that would make 12 states. Yeah. That doesn't make any sense to me.
No, it doesn't. But once again, we have to go back to what the culture is telling us. And once again, if you find that life is not worth living, when you talk about euthanasia, it's just not somebody who is terminally ill, but maybe someone who is depressed. And, folks, we all have good days and bad days. We go through periods of depression. There is medication. If you're depressed, believe me, it's nothing to take lightly. I understand what depression can do for someone or cause someone even to think of suicide. However, go to your doctor. There is help for you. Bottom line is, once again, life is, and this is the morality part of it, life is a gift from God. And therefore, we have no right to take our life from conception until natural death. But we are in a society now that says, well, if life is tough, if you don't feel good, if you're depressed, and we can be depressed about a lot of things. Believe me, I get depressed about a lot of things, but not that depressed. Right. But, and then say, well, I want to put an end to my life. They're going to say, well, there are some safeguards in there. A couple of doctors have to sign off on it. There has to be a waiting period. However, the bottom line is, if you decide that this is what you want, you would be free to do it. Once again, it's a libertarian mindset. It's all about me, and as long as I don't hurt someone else, I can take my own life. Now, it used to be a civil crime.
Right.
If somebody succeeded in the suicide, you can't prosecute them. I'm a genius to think of this. However, if someone failed at the attempt, they could be prosecuted. Now, we've learned a lot more about mental illness these days instead about depression. But that's how serious. It was an offense against society because it was an offense against humanity.
And it's an offense against God still, correct?
It's still, of course,
If you take your own life,
right.
And I would think theologically that if you ask someone else to take your life, even though it's civilly legal, it's still a mortal sin.
It still is a mortal sin if you are in your right mind. And I have to, put this caveat there. We would hope that people who are requesting this are, in their right mind, because if they're not, you can imagine all the people that would be committing suicide with the doctor's approval. All right. So it still is an offense against the law of God, but it still does damage to the state because it cheapens human life. And the state was always there to protect human life. And protect human life, that's why we had laws. We used to have laws against abortion. And that's why there were always laws against suicide. But once you begin to lift from the beginning, abortion, it naturally progresses toward the end. And this is only a natural progression of where society begins to unravel, because abortion was not only a violation, once again, of the laws of God, but it was an offense against humanity. It's a crime. It's a crime.
Let's jump into abortion. Mm-hmm. Tuesday, Amendment 4. There are a lot of people who are kind of on the fence on the issue of abortion. We know that. But this is just a bad amendment, Father.
It is.
It would allow abortion without parental consent. It would allow lay people to perform abortions.
Oh, yeah.
It would allow anyone who qualifies as a healthcare professional to deem abortion okay
Right.
at virtually any stage.
Correct.
Because the 26 week thing, what is that called?
The heartbeat?
No, what they say the
Viability.
viability. Sorry, duh.
Yeah, the heartbeat is up to 6 weeks.
But the viability thing is fungible.
Mm-hmm.
Depends on who wants to determine viability. So that could be 30 weeks. Anyway.
Yeah, right now most would say that viability is 22 weeks. However, we've gotten back to the point where viability, I just read this latest one, a child that was almost given up of having a chance to survive and survived at 20 weeks. And so medical technology has gone a long way to make even the littlest of us able to survive.
If you just read, for those of you who are undecided, there are people who have decided, no matter what, I want abortion, and there are people who, like us, say abortion is wrong and we don't want abortion. But there's a lot of people in the middle. Take the time to read the research that's out there. It's easy to find. It's not a good bill. Father.
Not a good bill. And I'll tell you something, folks. This is, on my part, being a rather mercenary, a reason. If you just want a reason beyond the philosophical, beyond the theological, beyond medical, there has been no studies done as to the financial impact that unlimited abortion would have in the state of Florida. That means no consideration has been given to what would happen if we are inundated with people coming into the state to our Medicare, Medicaid. What happens there? Who's responsible? State would have to pick that up. And also the litigation that would come from that has not been considered either. So this is dangerous in many, many ways. Financially, it is very dangerous. Morally, it is a violation of good human behavior. And politically, it is the political suicide of a country.
Thank you, Father, and thank you for watching. Be with us again next week for another episode of A Conversation with Father Orsi. Until then, I'm BC Cloutier, wishing you a very good week, and God bless.